recognize the honourable member for Halifax.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's with mixed emotions that I rise to speak in the chamber today for the last time as the member for Halifax. I've informed the Prime Minister that when the House of Commons resumes in the fall, I will not be returning, and so I rise today to share some reflections as this chapter of my service to Halifax comes to a close. And what a chapter it has been, Madam Speaker. 3 elections, 9 years full of learning, hard work, new friendships, unexpected adventures, plenty of ups, a few downs, and according to the Library of Parliament, 2,414 votes. Incredible. It's difficult to put into words just how much it has all meant. After a 20-year career as a city planner, I arrived in Centre Block as the first city planner ever elected to Canada's House of Commons. That career instilled in me the value of thoughtful planning to the well-being of Canadians who call our communities home. And I saw what poor planning, neglect, and underfunding of our communities was doing to Canada, which ultimately was my call to run. Well, that and a convincing conversation to run from my dear friend and mentor, Halifax's own Dale Godsoe, herself a member of Prime Minister Paul Martin's Advisory Task Force on Cities and Communities, who is just now celebrating her 80th birthday. Happy birthday, Dale. I ran for office because I wanted to be a voice for Canadian communities like mine, to make the case that our cities and towns could propel Canada toward its best days if we just unlocked their potential. Mr. Speaker, as I've pursued that goal here, I have so many people to thank who have supported me along the way. First and foremost, my incredible daughter, Daisy Isabella Fillmore. We all know too well the immense burden that our lives and politics place on our family and loved ones. And that burden is greatest on the teenagers who grew up with a parent in politics. When I was nominated in 2014, Daisy was 7 years old. She was 8 at my 2015 election. And she is now a magnificent 17-year-old off to university in the fall. Through it all, she has been loving, wise beyond her years, and mostly patient. She was my beautiful little shadow at constituency events as a preteen, not at all interested in me or my events as a teen, but now as a brilliant young adult, she's come back to me and supports me in what comes next. Daisy, I'm so profoundly proud of you and forever grateful. You teach me something new every time we sit down and have a talk. You have been and will always be my North Star. I love you beyond my ability to express it. I also want to thank my family, my big sisters, Jenny Hawes and Julia Dowdy, who sitting on our beloved Bayswater Beach back in 2014 told me, "Andy, go for it." And so I did. My mom and greatest champion, Anne Ellen Fillmore, who didn't live to see her son to sit in this place, but is with me every day that I'm here. My father, Peter Fillmore, who always demonstrated the importance of being guided by purpose. And down to my political family, beginning with my remarkable staff team. In Halifax, that's the indefatigable Joanne McRae. It's Alec McKinnon, it's Mackenzie Lambert, it's Lou Rogers. Previously, it's Dakota Kochi, Jennifer Drillio, it's Sarah Dobson, Cameron Lusby, and most recently, Will Regan. Here in Ottawa, that's Breton Cousins, and earlier, Jared Valdez, Matt Conley, and Nicholas McHugh. And Madam Speaker, from the very first day until the last, 7 parliamentary interns or PIPs have been a critical part of our team, so thank you to Etienne Grandmaison, Claire Seifert, Andrew Walker, Anya Bouchard, Angelica Kulubiaka, Sarah Rollison-McCauley, and Camille Cournoyer. In politics, as in life, there is of nothing greater value than teammates who have each other's back, and that has been us for 9 years. Team, you have always been there for me, and I will always be there for you. In Ottawa, I've been fortunate to chair the Indigenous and Northern Affairs Committee and to serve as Parliamentary Secretary to 4 ministries: Democratic Institutions, Canadian Heritage, Infrastructure and Communities, and Innovation, Science and Industry. I want to sincerely thank each of those ministers and teams for their work and their support. Coming back to Halifax, I'm incredibly grateful to have been backed by an electoral district association led by current chair Martha Reynolds, past chairs Joanne Bouchard and Michelle Dagnon, and indeed everyone who served on the board of the association throughout my time as your candidate. And I would not have walked these halls for 9 years were it not for an extraordinary team of campaign volunteers of every age and background who joined me on the doorsteps, on the phones, and at countless events. It takes real guts to climb the stairs to a stranger's door and engage them in the political process, and yet that's what this team has done for over 100,000 doors over 3 election cycles. Mr. Speaker, these are the people that power Canadian politics: tireless, selfless volunteers. The final thanks is for those who I owe it all, the good people of Halifax who took a chance on me and then renewed their trust in me twice more. I came here to be your champion, and whether you voted for me or not, I hope in the end that I've served our city well. And looking back now, we achieved a lot together. We moved Halifax's share of federal funding from the bottom of the pack to 8th out of 338 ridings in Canada. With shipbuilders, we stood up for good shipbuilding jobs and closing the work gap. With community partners, we saved our beloved Northwest Arm from harmful infilling. With provincial partners, we reopened George's Island in Halifax Harbour after generations of closure. With longshoremen, we defended the Port of Halifax. With veteran advocates, we revived the Veterans ID card. With advocates across the country, we created Canada's first National Active Transportation Strategy and associated fund. With colleagues here in the House, we passed M45, my private member's motion that put a green lens on federally funded infrastructure projects. With government and industry partners, we brought NATO's Defense Innovation Accelerator of the North Atlantic, or DIANA, to Halifax. With Indigenous partners, we secured funding for a new Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Centre in downtown Halifax. And with the Royal Canadian Navy, we established the first ever Halifax International Fleet Week. Madam Speaker, these are just some of the projects that I've had the chance to work on and lead as Halifax MP. And yet there's still more to do. Like my current effort to open up Canada Post lands in Halifax for housing, and rest assured, my colleagues here and back at home in Halifax will continue to hear from me on this. I also want to express my deepest thanks to my dear colleagues in this place. This experience has taught me not just about the inner workings of Parliament and politics, but about Canada itself. What a unique experience it is to sit in a room with 338 people representing every corner, every single community of our vast nation. In the 42nd Parliament, my seatmate was former MP Pam Goldsmith-Jones, the member for West Vancouver Sunshine Coast Sea to Sky Country. There we were, representing West Coast and East Coast, separated by 4,400 kilometers, and yet sitting side by side at the same desk in this chamber. We found so much in common in the Canadians that we represented and in their shared hopes and in their aspirations. In moments of intense debate in this House, when I struggled to see the other side, the thing that helped me make sense of this place was to remember that each of us here in this chamber, together, represent every single Canadian, regardless of background or persuasion, and that is the beauty of our Canadian democracy. And let us never forget that we do this job in service to every single one of them. Madam Speaker, this job has taught me a lot about my hometown, too. It's taken me into places I may never otherwise have been. I've been welcomed into people's homes, their places of worship, community centers, businesses, workplaces, backyards. I forged new friendships with communities of every kind, seeing Halifax in a way that has inspired me over and over again. I spoke earlier about the potential of our country's cities and towns to propel Canada toward its best days if only we unlock their potential, and I believe that there is nowhere in Canada that is more true than in Halifax, a municipality bursting with potential. Hard-won potential, I should add. Over the last 2 decades, so many Haligonians back home have rolled up our sleeves, linked arms, and put our collective ambition into action. Together, we've turned the tides of stagnation that had haunted our municipality for decades and turned Halifax toward prosperity and growth. Today, that growth has brought many opportunities, but it has also brought its share of challenges. And so today, while I find myself reflecting on the past 9 years, my sights are firmly set on the future, because the job is not finished at home. There's still work to do for Halifax, and I intend to see to it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Member for West Nova.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and this is a highly unusual for me to get up and ask a question or at least make a comment, but I just wanted to reflect a little bit on the Honourable Member's speech when he talked about family, because I think all of us come with some of the very same kind of challenges when we come here, where we leave family behind and we of course come back and we would like to be able to spend more time with them. And I think what the Honourable Member is doing is trying to find another opportunity to spend more time at home. I do congratulate him in making his decision on putting his name forward, I think, for Mayor of Halifax. I keep hearing that. That's the story going on in the community. But I do want to ask the Honourable Member that maybe, you know, with all the accolades or all the listing of things that you have, or the Honourable Member has listed, you know, what's the project that you look most forward to that you didn't have the chance to do as the Member of Parliament for Halifax?
The honourable member for Halifax.
Well, I thank very much my colleague from Nova Scotia, the member from West Nova. Indeed, this place can be very hard on families, and I am so grateful that as a result of COVID, we were able to innovate some virtual protocols, voting by app, that have actually made this place more hospitable and more friendly and more welcoming to family and people with children. And I think this is very important, and I think collectively, moving forward, I hope this place protects those hard-won abilities to do so. As for what's next in Halifax, like the rest of the country, there's a lot of houses to build. There are a lot of people to support in all kinds of different ways, but there's tremendous optimism in my city, and I look forward to propelling that and keeping the good momentum that we've built through hard work going into the future.
Questions et commentaires, l'honorable.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Member for Abitibi-Témiscamingue. Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's an honor for me to rise to pay tribute to my colleague from Halifax's political career. I appreciated working with this colleague, especially on the industry committee. I think it's possible to have camaraderie and trust good relationships with our colleagues. And together, we could have passed C-27 if we had similar responsibilities. That said, though, he mentioned a lot of accomplishments in Halifax, but he did forget one, Madam Speaker. Halifax held the Memorial Cup in 2019. And thanks to that, the Rouyn-Noranda Huskies won not one championship, but two, the President's Cup and the Memorial Cup. Maybe I shouldn't mention that here. This might not be the right time. But that said, I really appreciate how ambitious my colleague is. My colleague is working towards big ambitions, but my question for him is, what is he most proud of accomplishing in this Parliament and for Halifax? What is his legacy? Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Member for Halifax.
Well, I thank my dear friend, the member from Abitibi-Témiscamingue, for the wonderful question. And of course, I would tell him that my greatest accomplishment was making sure that your Huskies could have a place to win in the Memorial Cup in Halifax. I hope it's was a great legacy for both of us from my time in this place. I'm very proud of my work with the member on the industry committee. We worked together on all kinds of matters, critical minerals, quantum computing, the Copyright Act modernization, blockchain technologies, crypto, fair competition across industries. We did an awful lot together. But I think if I were to answer the member directly, my greatest accomplishment, I think, was done as a team with everyone in this House who achieved the great things for Canadians that are propelling them forward through what has been a difficult time and that has set them up for a strong economy looking forward. And we all did that together in so many different ways, and that's the proudest thing that I can say. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Courtenay Alberni.
Madam Speaker, it is a huge honor and privilege to be able to rise on the final speech of my friend from Halifax, and we've done many things together. When he was the Parliamentary Secretary for the Environment and Climate Change Minister, he worked with me on a national strategy to combat plastic pollution and helped get his caucus to unanimously support that. Also, we worked together on cycling. I had a bill on a national cycling strategy, and the member, I remember getting the call the night before and the announcement of the first ever $400 million dedicated to active transportation and an active transportation strategy. And he also supported a health-based approach to the toxic drug crisis. He even broke away from his own party and supported my bill there. And lastly, he worked with me to double the firefighter tax credit and for, the tax credit for search and rescue. And I can't say enough about his ability to work across political lines, and I appreciate his dedication to the people of Halifax. I guess my question, Madam Speaker, and lastly a comment, is I know he'll be at home watching the last blow in a gale. He won't be missing it anymore. I had to use a maritime comment. But what will he be reaching out to the NDP for if he is the Mayor of Halifax in ways that we can continue to work together on things that are going to help benefit Canadians and the environment?
A very brief answer from the Honourable Member for Halifax.
Thank you very much to my friend. I really do appreciate working with the member for Courtenay Alberni. We have done so very well together over a long period of time. And if I could just remember back to the harmful plastics ban, it was about a week before that bill passed. My daughter, who I spoke about earlier today, who at that time was about 12 years old or so, texted me while I was here and said, "Dad, isn't there anything you can do about helping sea life with all the plastic bags and everything?" And a week later, I was able to tell her that in fact we had passed that bill with your help, with the members' help, Madam Speaker. I want to finish, I think, with the with the firefighters' tax credit. An absolutely remarkable thing. Thank you for the help that you applied to that. In fact, it doubled the credit from $3,000 to $6,000. That had everything to do with this members and other members' advocacy. We're in a position now where we know firefighters' skills are going to be called on more and more frequently throughout the course of the year, and we need to do everything we can to position them for success. And I think, again, collectively, we can all feel good about the way we've been able to position them for that success. Thank you.
Resuming.